welcome everyone. We're gonna get started since we have a lot on the agenda. Oh, wow. Thank you. Yes, I turned 29 today. All right, so there's a lot of new faces. Welcome to the Guatemala Agricultural Association. We have our meeting bi-monthly. This has become the spot, so mahalo to Warren and Kevin for hosting us, and Liz, wherever she's at. If you need to use the bathroom, just go down that walkway, and you'll see the signs for the bathroom. And then we're also gonna be recording this, so that people who aren't here can watch. So if you don't want to be recorded, just let us know. We won't point the camera at you.
Stand in back.
Oh, okay, stand in the back. Okay, but yeah, we're just gonna get started. A little overview of just tonight. We're gonna have a little CPR and first aid presentation, some Q&A with our awesome H2OA people. I'm gonna give some updates on the federal funding and legislature things. And yeah, okay, so I'd like to bring up Lee. Yeah, you're first.
Okay.
Do you want the microphone or? Okay.
So,
You can say who you are.
hello everybody. You know, the guys in Hokulua asked us if we would do a presentation tonight for you guys. We said, okay. And the company I'm with, we do the first aid CPR certification for Hokulua. So they asked us if we would do a short thing. So I was wondering what I'd talk about tonight. I think I brought a little defibrillator. I thought I'd give you an overview of how to use a defibrillator. First, a little about myself. You know, I'm retired. I'm a retired fireman. You know, the young guys nowadays, they call themselves firefighters. I'm just a fireman. This year, in 17 years, I've been retired from the fire department. The time just flies by, you know. So I retired, I played golf, I do this. I drop off my grandkids, I pick up my grandkids. I pay your Amazon bills. So let me get myself. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the defibrillator today. Have any of you ever had any defibrillator training or have an idea about how to use one? I'm going to train you with you today. And I'll just give a short little demonstration on this. And I got to be real honest with you. It's so easy to use. You don't even have to take a class. Yeah? Am I right? All you got to do is figure out how to turn it on. Once you turn it on, it starts talking to you. It tells you exactly what to do from the beginning all the way through. You can't go wrong. Believe me, yeah? Really only 3 steps to using a defibrillator. Step number 1, turn them on. That's on the written test that we give to the RNs. What's the first action you do with the defibrillator? You're surprised how many of them get it wrong. But the right answer is turn it on. Turn it on, and you put the pads on the patient. One pad goes here, one pad goes here. There are even pictures on the pads to show you where to put them. Step number 3, what's the shock button? It's going to flash on and off. It'll tell you exactly when to press the button and exactly what to do after you press it. Really easy, easy, easy. Okay? I'm going to tell you what do we want to do with this. As adults, normally our hearts beat like this, right? Tap, tap, tap. Most of us, if we go to cardiac arrest, we're going to go into a condition called fibrillation. And you'll be, your heart's beating, and all of a sudden, oh, I don't feel too good. Oh. The heart's going to start fibrillating. When you start fibrillating like this, the skin's going to turn gray, and you drop to the ground, the pulse is going to 0, the blood pressure is going to 0. People are going to start to die with bad, terrible things, yeah? But then you're going to try to do what you do, you're going to try to shock your heart and bring it back. You're going to try to restart your heart. Yeah, reboot. Control Alt Delete. Or like the cable box for the TV, you can plug off. It's exactly what we're trying to do. Yeah? Now, Easy to do. I'm going to do a short demo of this thing. You see how easy it is to use. I mean, you know, we got all defibrillators in 1995 in Homeland Department. I retired in 2008. By the time we got our defibrillators in 95, I'd been a fireman for 15 years. I never saw one person come back from CPR. Not one. There may have been, I never saw one. 15 years. But once we started getting these, all of a sudden your stories like, yeah, 11:30 brought somebody back last night. Engine 28 brought somebody back last week. Somebody walked into station 30 to thank you for bringing them back. The guys at station 30, they brought back a baby's dog. The poor thing walked into the station and that dog must have just died. So she was distraught, crying, you know what to do. I'm not telling you, if you're ever in trouble, you don't know what to do, go to a fire station. I promise you, the firemen are going to help you somehow. So she walked into the station and the captain said, well, what we have to do is hook her up. Boom, hooked up the dog, shot the dog, brought the dog back. To me, that should have been on CNN. Now, I got to tell you the second half of the story. I would have to preface it by saying that, you know, fireman stories are better every year, yeah? I'm telling the story about 20 years ago. So the second half goes like this. We shot the dog came back, the lady was so excited, she went down. They hooked her up, they shot her and brought her back too. I'm not sure about the second half, but I know they brought the dog back. It's an amazing piece of equipment this, yeah? Let me do a really fast demo of this. So here are the pads, I'm going to turn it on, so I'm going to start talking. You can be able to hear, yeah?
Apply pads to patient's bare chest. Plug in pads connector next to flashing light.
Easy. Pictures. Just a first time.
Apply pads. Plug in
So
connector.
most of them are quick connected, but this is a trainer I have to plug in. Yeah?
Analyzing heart rhythm.
Now, the pads are listening to
Do not touch the patient.
It's looking for this, looking for fibrillation.
Shock advised.
That means this guy is fibrillating.
Charging.
So we're going to shock this guy.
Stay clear of patient.
So I'm clear, you see his button, yeah?
Deliver shock now. Press the orange button now.
So before you press the button, I'm clear, you're clear, everybody's clear, and you're clear.
Shock delivered.
It's all understood. Really is
Begin
understood.
CPR.
Now, of course, when you shock the patient, the body's going to jump, yeah? That TV, that's normal. When it's safe, begin CPR, you leave the pads right where you are, or straight to the chest, that's CPR. Now follow the rhythm of the machine. And you do CPR for 2 minutes. You don't have to time yourself. At the end of 2 minutes, this machine will tell you to stop. This will listen to the heart all over again. And if he's still fibrillating, it will tell you to shut them again. Oh, you did it one more time? It'll tell you to do CPR, do 2 more minutes of CPR, it will stop you and listen once more. You're still fibrillating, we'll shock them again. So the protocol is shock, CPR, listen to the heart. Shock, CPR, listen to the heart. Over and over and over until either help arrives or you get a different message from this machine. And the only other message you're going to get from this unit is no shock advised, proceed. Some people's hearts are so sick, so diseased, or they're so old and so weak, and they go down, they're out. They don't even fibrillate, they're down, they're flat. If that's the case, the unit will tell you, okay, no shock, do CPR. So you do the CPR, and let you do CPR for 2 minutes, so it'll stop you and listen to the heart once more, hoping we can get some kind of a rhythm going. Yeah? Even if we can't, we're going to keep doing this until the paramedics get here and give them a big dose of epinephrine, letting them know how to try to stimulate that heart. The thing with this is you need to shock them as soon as you can. Everybody's different, but once you start fibrillating, you're only going to fibrillate for a few minutes. 4, 5, or maybe 6 minutes. But after that, the heart eventually is just going to say, well, I give up. It's going to go flat line. Once it goes into a flat line, his unit is going to shock. So you got to hit him in the first few minutes. So we teach everyone that something should happen, heaven forbid. But one person is calling 911, someone should be sprinting to get the AED wherever that is. Or this guy's behind the patient should be doing this. Can you see blood going to the brain? Yeah, until we can get the defibrillator here. Once the unit is here, turned on, pads in hand, you step back, slap the pads on, and let the defibrillator do its thing. Best scenario would be is that they can somehow get the pads on the patient's chest while you're still compressing. That's why it's not a bad idea. If you have to do CPR on somebody, you bear the chest first. Then you're ready for the AED. And that's the whole thing with this unit. It's amazing, I'll tell you. I gotta tell you, in our business, not too many happy endings. I was farming 28 years. Not that many happy endings, but once this came around, all of a sudden, hey, started to save some guys. Yeah, questions? Did I tell you these? Yes, sir.
Well, how do we know, like if the person's just on the ground, how do we know that they're having a heart attack versus they passed out from overheating
Well,
or
our
something?
criteria for using this
Yeah.
is unresponsive, kind of wake them up, and not breathing. Wake them up. Okay? If they're unresponsive, not breathing or struggling to breathe, we do CPR until we can get this hooked up to them. But that's the criteria. Once you're down, the beauty of this thing is once you hook it up, it does all the thinking for you. It tells you whether or not to stop, tells you when to stop, what to do, really. Kind of go along with this thing. And the beauty of this is that, when these things first came out in 1995, you couldn't go out and buy one. You had to have an AED program for the organization, you had to have an MD overseeing the program. So now, up to lately, you can buy them at Costco or Amazon. They stopped shipping them because of the batteries, but there are online places you can buy defibrillators. There's a couple of places down here. People with relatives with heart problems, not a bad idea.
How much do they cost?
Well, about $2,500. Sound like plenty money. The golf clubs cost me $2,500. Just to give you a kind of an idea. And I'll tell you a good fast story before I get off. My wife and I read these advanced directives. It was like a living bulletin, the Kaiser Mesa Saloon. I don't know what's on it. My wife just told me to sign them, so I just signed it, But so I talked to her one day. I said, "Hey, honey, you got these living bulletins, and I gotta ask you, if something happens and you go down, you want me to try to bring you back or what?" And she went, "Hell yeah, you better try to bring me back." And I told her, "If I go down, you better try to bring me back too." So okay, so we shook hands. So you bring me back, I bring you back. So I told her, "Well, maybe not a bad idea if we go in and push this AED, She goes, "No." She says, "Well, how much will it cost?" I said, "Well, we want to get the good one, the one that's good for kids too, because we got the grandkids upstairs and everything, So I said, "Well, with everything, $2,800. She went, $2,800? I said, "Well, yeah." She goes, "That's too much." I told her, "Well, how much did you spend on that Disney cruise you took your grandkids on? And left me home to feed the dog. I have to stay home. So how much did you spend on that cruise?" She goes, "Oh, so I told her, look, when we get our tax returns, I'll take my half and I'll buy the AED for you. I don't bring this on my heart. If something happens, we use it. Even though I paid for it, we're going to use it again. They said, "Okay, so we get our tax returns. I'm on the internet looking for the AED on the web. But before I was a firefighter, I was a musician. I played in my degree 14 years before I got into fire force. And so I've always had this fascination with guitars and guitar player. When I was growing up, all my friends had Playboy magazines and penthouses. I had Gibson guitar catalogs and Fender catalogs. So every time I go on the internet, I go to this place called Sweetwater Music. And I look at the guitars. I just can't help it. So anyway, I'm on the internet, I'm looking at the AED. People get a Phillips, with a channel key. Boom, zoom over to Sweetwater. And I saw this beautiful Gibson guitar. Beautiful Gibson guitar, bluegrass. Beautiful guitar. $4,000. Oh, back to the AAB Superstore, looking at the AAB again. Back to see what of the kid at the guitar. And I had like the angel and the devil on the shoulders, you know. And the angel is going, buy the defibrillator, it's for the children. And the devil is going, get the guitar, the kids don't love you anyway. So I got the guitar, I got this beautiful Gibson guitar. I've got to buy a defibrillator, so I'm hoping everybody survives that. Anyway, gang, I just want to give you a short overview. And of course, you know, a little more involved in using these things, learning how to do CPR, but not a bad skill. Anybody have any questions? Sir, yeah.
With the defibrillator, you can do it through a line if you're in a hurry or something.
And the clothing has to come off. Yeah, has to be completely bare chest. Yeah. Yeah, well, let me talk about that. Yeah, has to be completely bare chest. Everything has to come off. If it's a female, they need to remove on the clothes too. Jewelry, not a problem. Yeah. Unless the jewelry is touching the pad. If the necklace or the chain is touching the pad, well, you have to take the necklace off. If you find anything on the chest where the pad is supposed to go, if you find a chemotherapy program, yeah, just move your pad over a little bit and you're good. Yeah. If the chest is wet, you should dry the chest off because when you shuffle, you just see it go across the top of the chest. So dry them off and you're good. If somebody drowns in the ocean out there or they drown in a swimming pool, you can defibrillate them, dry the chest off and you're good. Yeah. If the cement is wet or the sand is wet at the beach, don't worry, you won't get shocked. But if you're in the same part of the water with this guy, then yeah, you could get shocked. You drag him out. I think with me, you need a razor. For the guys with lots of hair on their chest. Too much hair, bad won't stick. Bad won't stick, bad won't shock. So if you open up this guy's shirt, oh, there's like a hair all over the place. But the indicate, it's your razor, give it a fat shave. Put the pad on, give it a toothbrush. Now, if you go to your kid and you discover that somebody took the razor home, well, now what? Our association says, get your pad, push it down firmly on the hairy area, and then rip the pad off. Kind of like a mobile wax gun. Let me tell you something about that. When you rip the pad off, you take off some hair. Yeah, you will. But no, all of a sudden, your pad is going to be unusable. Don't turn your pad away. And use your spare, if you have a spare. Even if you have a spare, if there's too much hair left behind, you pretty much sunk, yeah. So my partner and I, we classes up at the UH, we did a hygienist school, we did the med services, we would do some classes at Jabson, yeah, for the faculty practice. In the hygienist school, geniuses, they had a big roll of duct tape in classroom. Big roll of duct tape. So you can find somebody with a lot of hair and the razor is missing, you're going to use your $5 roll of duct tape before you use your $75 pad. And I tried, it really works. I tried it on my arm over the week. First like hell. It really works. So somebody told me that Gorilla Tape works even better. Never, it does it, yeah. Never used it, so I'm going to get it off. So anyway, I'm sorry, I went off. Does that answer your question, sir? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Do you have another question, Brian?
No, maybe somebody else does.
Oh, okay. Any other questions, guys? Oh, terrific. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah. Thank Okulua Builders for asking us to come down. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Oh, can you just say what your service is that your guys' company does too?
Well, we do CPR first aid certifications, yeah, for companies. We go to the company. Last year I did 120 classes. The year before I did 106. We go to the company and do it right here. Yeah. We don't have a training facility per se, so we go to the different companies. We do Bank of Hawaii, HBA, there are a bunch of them that we do. So if anybody, you can get a hold of us through local do or whatever, yeah. And you're happy to come out and do it. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Are you leaving any information of the sourcing of the unit in case anybody wants to buy one?
Well, okay. We're really not supposed to make any recommendations, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. Yeah. There are a couple of places down here. Safety Systems sells them. They run about $2,600. The safety systems, they have the Zoll. AED Institute down here sells AEDs also about $2,600. Or if you want the internet, AEDsuperstore.com. Wide selection of AEDs. And I'll tell you, if you ever decide to get an AED, get a hold of us from local here. We promise you, we'll come down, we'll help you set it up. I'll show you how to use it. They're for nothing. We'll just come down and I'll show you how to do it. So, it's a good bus, money bus. Although I haven't bought mine yet. But you know, I'm not over for that yet, so. Any other questions there? They help you out. Thank you so much for having me here. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, if you're wondering why we had that happen, was it a worker at Mokulua Farms?
There was a worker at, who's at Ladybugs right now.
Oh, okay. There was a worker down the street from Brian who fell to the ground and no one knew what to do. So, also, if you didn't know, heart issues are pretty high in the agricultural community, sadly. So I would recommend investing in an AED system just to be prepared. And we're also working on maybe like some sort of funding that we can help. Like maybe not provide the whole $2,000 per company, but like maybe like a little bit subsidy to help out. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna bring up the H2A crew. And I'm gonna have you use the mic because it's a little hard to hear in the back, I heard.
Aloha, thanks for inviting us out tonight. Just to introduce myself, my name is Jarrett Lau. I'm the acting entomologist from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture Plant Quarantine Branch and coordinator for the Little Fire Ant Response. The reason why we're out here tonight is just to give updates about our program and answer any questions about our species or our programs itself. For the Little Fire Ant, we're just, my team is just continuing to do survey work within Waimanalo currently. If you have any questions or want your properties to be tested, feel free to reach out to me during after this presentation. We're also helping supply labor help if you're in treatment and you need help with like manpower to do treatment applications. We can also assist with that to work within our schedule. The only other few updates that we have for LFA, we just launched our PCO program. So if you have any residential properties that are struggling with LFA or you're unsure, you can come out to us, we can give you a test kit, you can test your property. Once we're able to identify there is LFA on the property, we can bring in, we can survey the entire property, then bring in our PCO to treat the entire property for free. Lastly, we're trying to grow our team, so if you know of anyone who's interested in working in survey work or getting connected with government agencies or conservation work, feel free to reach out to me. We're trying to get 7 new hires. It's going to be a 3-month contract, 89-day hires, to be working inside the survey teams for LFA, Koki, and CRB. Yeah, thank you.
Aloha everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm the acting land vertebrate specialist for Hawaii Department of Agriculture. My forte, I guess you could say, is Koki frogs, which maybe many of you have dealt with or have heard in the mountains up there. So a little update on what's going on in Waimanalo right now is that we still are doing the volunteer events as well as experienced volunteer events every Thursday night. So there is a team going up there tonight. It's open. We do welcome new volunteers to come up and come and take a look at it. I know if you have grandkids or kids, teenagers that want to come up, always feel free to sign up, and I can share that sign up with you folks. Other than that, what we recommend is best management practices. Check all your material coming from the Big Island. Ensure that, if there is a koki on property, feel free to contact us or any agency that deals with the koki frogs so that we can come and take a look and we can even try and capture it for you guys. Other than that, I'm free for any questions that you guys might have later on, and then I will pass it on to my next guys.
Hello, my name is Ruben. This is my coworker Peter. We're both plant quarantine inspectors helping out with the CRB project. What's currently happening is that there's funding for public spaces to do controls and some tree removals of trees that we feel that will be future breeding locations. We'll be starting on the west side of Oahu and then looking to expand to North Shore from there. There are future plans to work with nurseries and possibly residential properties, but they're working out some of the legal paperwork and logistical stuff at the legislature before that can be, or any funds are allocated. We're looking to start soon with treatments at state parks and also tree removals within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. And then I guess we'll put out more information as more information becomes available.
Hello everyone, I'm Peter. I work with Ruben with the CRB group. I don't know how to follow. He did such a good job in describing what we do. But yeah, definitely we've done some surveys out on the Waianae side and then even Eva and even up to the North Shore, Haleiwa. We're taking a look at damaged trees and working with city and county at the moment to flag trees that are going to be removed. And the reason why it's also for safety issues, the trees are on their way out and may not recover. Some of them are deadheaded already, and trying to get those under control and removed so that we can move forward with that. And as Ruben said, yeah, the residential part is still being worked on at the moment, so we're currently working in public spaces. So if you have any questions, yeah, please feel free to ask us. Thank you.
Oh, is it the best management practice to cut the tree down if it looks like it's dying or it's 6 months from dying?
Right, so I guess when we do take a look at the tree, we kind of look at the crown to see how damaged it is. Some trees may recover depending on how bad the damage is. And for homeowners, I think they might have to take the step of either hiring somebody, a landscaping company or something, to actually remove any of the fruit or flowers before treatment, with any kind of pesticides to prevent damage to bees or beneficial insects and things like that. So yeah, it depends on how the tree is assessed. If it's too far gone, if it's deadheaded, then for sure it's not going to come back. It needs to be removed. Because then potentially they'll eventually start to rot and serve as breeding sites. And that's the main thing, we encourage everyone to try to control your green waste, because green waste is basically one of the major factors that increase the population. So as that decays, that provides that prime space for the beetles to lay eggs and produce more grubs and things like that. So that's a key part. If that's not controlled, then treating trees, it may be a never-ending process until the populations are controlled by controlling the breeding areas.
So Peter, besides cutting the palm trees that I'm going to build, are there other treatments that you are doing?
There's definitely chemical options, most of which are commercially available. Don't require. There's one restricted use pesticide, but there's several options that are not restricted use that can be used to control. But first thing is to trim the tree, because some of them it'll make the fruit inedible. So you want to make sure that it's not flowering and that there's not fruit on the tree at the time of treatment.
So So if you're treating a coconut tree that has toxic chemicals, are you identifying the trees that you are treating with these chemicals?
Yes, we are. We're marking them with tape to say that the fruit is inedible and that it's been treated for CRB. But like I said, currently it's only in public spaces, so golf courses. I said we'll be moving to state parks and doing treatments and stuff. But everything will be, and like the state parks, the city county beach parks, they're on a regular trim schedule. So there's no fruit or flowers because they're constantly trimming them off.
I know you guys are faced with a really dauntless task because the CRBs are bad everywhere. You see them out of water, of course, all those places. There's so much going into the LFAs. You guys go on to private property, and I know it's not you folks' fault, but does the governor really know that in 20 years we'll have no palm trees here? Really, the way things are going, if we only treat city and state places.
No, so there is, like I said, it is in the works for the, yes, so.
Maybe some ledge updates.
Yeah.
I know it's
So,
you guys.
so right now it's at the AG's office, some of the paperwork to present to homeowners and businesses in order for us to enter their properties and do treatments.
For deterrence, I heard about lights being helpful for like beetles and all that stuff. Is that still like that backed up by anything? Is that like effective? Or is that
I don't think there's any conclusive.
Sorry, I didn't jump in on this one. You guys don't mind. Yeah, there's a paper that just got published coming out of UH and looking at some different wavelengths that are attractive, and UV wavelengths increase the efficiency of traps. And over on, many of you know, Market Contemporary Landscaping, he's been putting some lights up with netting and catching a lot of beetles. I just talked to him today about, how do we gauge if this is effective, if it's actually, help improving tree health. So that's kind of.
Trying to get more like solid evidence or more conclusive results for you guys to be like, no, this is actually working. So you guys are still in the works on that?
Yeah, one of the issues is that trapping in the past hasn't been efficient enough to actually help tree health. You just catch a bunch of beetles, so it's unclear because this is pretty new, his method of trapping that he's working on. So we had a discussion about the lighting paper coming out, which is why he made those traps. So if you guys want to check out that paper that came out of UH.
Properties and buildings and whatnot. So that's something that would be like super helpful. It's kind of within our business to kind of be able to do that. And if it's something that's backed up by your guys' stuff, it's easier to sell to these people and actually somewhat effective.
Yeah, the only thing that hasn't been established is how helpful is it? How effective is it as a tool?
With the traps, or wombo combo like that would be pretty sweet if it's actually starting to work. That's a pretty selling point. It's like, look, you get to have a nice lights with your landscape, and you also helping out everybody else.
Yeah. So, sorry, I don't want to hijack your guys' time, but while I'm here, I'm with the CRB response. I work with these guys sometimes too. But sorry, Keith Weiser. So also we're trying to do some more treatments at in areas that have export off of Oahu. So one of the known risks is things like potted plants that move to other islands. So if we can reduce the CRB populations here, that'd be good. So we're trying to, we've talked to some people already, but if you're interested in having our canines units come around and sniff out the populations, material that's leaving, that you're shipping off island, if you want us to have the dogs sniff over that to see if there's any risks there. And then also we're doing treatments on host palms at properties that export off of Oahu. So if you're interested in that, you can put your name down on a sign-up sheet I have, and we can talk more about the details there.
What actually happens if the dog identifies larvae or like anything like that?
Well, it's up to you. So we're not we don't have any regulatory authority. So we'd just be like they're in there. What do you want to do? So there you have some options at that point. Yeah. So we would recommend that material didn't move to another island. If it's a pot, you would want to like open it up and look for the larvae. You can submerge that pot in water. You can use pesticides. You can heat treat, which will probably kill the plant. But there's a lot of things you can do. Depends on what your goals are.
I know that the task force, I thought, provided some funding or something to move piles to be heat treated. Does that still happen, or is it up to you to get them heat treated?
We used to, yeah, when we were allowed to do eradication work across the whole island, we would like take away infested material and we would heat treat it ourselves, but our work plan has changed, so we're only allowed to be working at the airports to prevent material from moving to other islands and then work on eradication on other islands.
Where do individuals go to heat treat a pile or these kinds of materials?
Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any public resources, but you know, again, Mark got a little steam unit, and you can do it yourself, and then you can do things like solarization, which are not super expensive, but are kind of time-consuming and labor-intensive. So again, you've got some options. It depends what volumes you're dealing with and what works for your operation. Sorry. I'll give the rest of my time to Jensen.
My name's Hogan. I live here in Kailua, but I actually am the operations manager for the Portland Community Association. So we are dealing with CRB at a much larger scale. Keith, I actually think I've spoken with you over email.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah. We're dealing with about 3,600 trees. Our purview as a community association is about 700 trees. Golf course has about 700 trees. So we mass treat. Right now we're doing injections every about 4 months. But what we're starting to see is fungal issues in the treated spots. So a solution that we're looking at now, and I'm not sure if any of you guys, I'm kind of wondering if any of you guys have worked with anything like this, but it's a company out of the Big Island called Aloha I'm the Drones. I believe he's helping you guys with Koki as well. So obviously we need we need a solution where we can treat a bunch of trees, you know, and it doesn't take months and months. And so, you know, we found so far that his treatment cost is actually much lower than injections, just because of the efficiency of the drone. Obviously, there's issues with the FAA that we're working through right now because we are on approach to HNL, but that looks like it's going well. Are you guys planning on doing any? You know, it seems like you guys are already working with him. Are you guys looking at doing anything in CRB treatment?
Yes, we're actually working on getting a couple staff members trained and licensed to operate drones.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
What would the drone do? Sorry.
Spray.
Oh.
So they'll be used to spray the crowns instead of having to go up with bucket trucks and.
But still that toxic chemical though.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
We are actually looking at a couple of different, I mean, obviously everybody's looking at everything. We have one individual that reached out, he's working with different organic solutions, but we're really mostly interested in the drones as an application process. The issue with injections that we're finding is it takes about 3 to 4 months for the treatment, especially because a lot of our trees are very mature, so they're 40 feet tall. So for the treatment to get to the crown, it takes about 4 months. A crown drench, it pretty much takes effect right away in a matter of weeks. It's something that I was just curious if you guys were doing it because it seems like the best way to do it. You know,
it's definitely the least invasive, yes.
Right, instead of drilling into the trees and that's going to have long-term effects and whatnot. We were going to drill and then fertilize and then do a bunch of different steps, but this seems, well, we'll see.
How long will the crown spraying last? That's the thing, right?
Well, like you said, it's only a few months, so it'll have to be, there's multiple applications that need to be done throughout the year.
So you think actually if you spray the crown will last 2 months?
That's according to the pesticide label.
Okay.
Right? It depends on the product that you're using.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to believe, but anyway, the rains, the chemicals are going to
Well,
wash
they're systemic. So there are systemics that are being used through foliar application to help control CRB.
I got a question actually for Jared. Kind of
is, now that they kind of where the information has come out with Palula, the infestation there, who knows how big that is. I live in Kaneohe. They found one that is a whole stream from Ho'olahia. They don't know where it ends yet. It's all the way down to the north, so miles. What kind of is the focus? I know there's a lot of talk about eradication for fire ants. Is that still seem plausible? And is that, something you guys have funding for?
Yeah, so we are so when you're looking at the invasion curve when it comes to little fire ant, we are right at the tipping point of either being at eradication or long-term management. So this year, that's why we're pouring a lot into it. The main saving grace when it comes to LFA is that our treatments are very effective. Like all the granulars are really effective, Tango is really effective, and then similar to like a CRB and Koki, we're looking into drones because we're finding that drones are very effective at treating the wildland areas. Like actually Maui had a wildland area that they were able to treat effectively with Tango and cause eradication, and they haven't had detection in that area for coming up to 3 years now. So it's gonna be considered eradicated soon. When it comes to the focus, it's not really a one focus kind of thing because LFA is such a long ongoing problem. It's been 13 years since the first infestation, right? But I think it's more that now that we're having multiple agencies, it's more separating the focus so each area can get the focus it needs. Wildlands, we just got DOFA, Department of Forestry and Wildlife. Now they're more active in it. They're taking up wildlands. They're working with all of us, whether that be HGOA, Hawaii Ant Lab, Oahu Invasive Species Committee, to learn about the new areas that are connected to the wild areas. So similar to like the one in connected to the Kaneohe one. We're all sharing those information and trying to make game plans on how to handle those. Whether or not it's for the question of if it's possible, I do believe it's possible. I think Ka'ula is going to be a major testing ground because it's a very complex situation where it's a mixture of nursery lands, residential, and of course the wild area. So I think this upcoming year, as we work together to start implementing our treatment plans, will be really telling on the treatments going forward. Yeah.
When you talk about working together, and I may not be current on all the information, but I had seen one bill where I was excited where there were avenues where one could get reimbursed if Extermco or some of the other pesticide companies treated their property. But if there was one person in the center of the neighborhood that didn't want treatment, then they wouldn't do any of the houses. So that for someone to refuse treatment and say, I want to raise fire ants to spread it through the community, it seems like that's a little weakness in the bill. Is that an accurate information I have, or is that not misinformed?
No, so it's you're somewhat correct. So what you're talking about is our PCO contract that we just implemented. It's for the residential properties. The part that you're talking about is that when we're surveying the whole area, we want to be able to survey and get permission to treat at least 90% of the delimited LFA population. Just because, like, say we only get like 10% of that population of buy-in to get treatment, even if we're treating for a full year, if they're surrounded by LFA, they're going to get reinfested. So it's important to get that mass majority buy-in before we start treatment to make sure our resources are being used the most effectively. But just because that last 10% is not willing, we're willing to work with the landowner, try to figure out other ways. It's not always going to be an easy solution, but like we're going to continue trying to work, whether it be through education or trying to find ways that would help bring treatment to the complete community. Yeah.
So that's nice and wonderful. Basically, you're saying if my neighbor doesn't want to treat his fire ants, there's nothing I can do. He can continue to reinfest let's say the 4 neighbors around.
If that's the case, like I would suggest like sending in a sample and communicating with us. We do have tools besides
You're not going to answer the question. So, are you able to go onto private property where there's an asshole that's raising fire ants and doesn't want you on his property? Can you force him to have his grounds treated so that he doesn't continue reinfesting the neighborhood that's on a regular preventative program?
So we do have the ability to get a warrant to gain access to properties.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
but we will often usually want to try to work with them
So
before we
fact
get to that point.
And honey or a bottle of wine is no better than a policeman.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, but you can use the policeman with a gun if the person is not cooperative.
Well, hopefully not with the gun, but yeah, we can get warrants if we need to, yeah.
There's a email that came out that said that residential places are getting treatment covered. Is that true?
Correct,
So their cost is covered also?
So the treatment's gonna be done completely by a certified PCO company, so their entire treatment will be free. But on the other hand, now that we have the PCO program running, we're beginning talks to try to see how we can now allocate resources to help agricultural communities from
Okay,
there.
so that's just, I know I bring this up all the time, but I just want to continue to bring this up, that I don't think it's fair that the Department of Ag doesn't pay for ag parcels treatment, but they do pay for residential homes to be done. The labor is super helpful. I know that a few farmers have said that your labor is so helpful and such a godsend, but I still want to keep pushing that the farmers get their treatment paid for as well. Why is that? Crazy.
So
And also, that's not on you guys. I know that's your bosses. You guys are so good at it.
So a very interesting question. Well, first off, I just want to say, like, keep speaking up. I promise, like, my managers are hearing about it, and that's what's also getting these, like, conversations going. And I really appreciate you guys speaking up, and that's
Tell them
amazing.
you complain at every meeting about it.
First thing in the morning tomorrow, no worries.
Tell them
I
we
got
give you
it.
a really hard time. I really like, yeah, they're just hammering. Tell them.
So yeah, the reason why it's kind of split up between doing ag and residential, I mean, true, this is politics. We gotta listen to like what legislators tell us, because that is where our funding does come from. So we do need to split up our duties, but we're also always firm saying that, you know, ag is our bread and butter. That's where we need to come from. Yeah.
Okay, so keep pushing to your bosses and the legislators that we need it paid for. Okay.
Yes.
And then just keep telling them we're complaining still. And then the other little issue, I heard Terminex got contracted to do the treatment or something like that.
So it is Rentokil North America and their subsidiary companies, Terminex, San Giles Pest Solution, and Kona Coast Pest Control.
Okay, I guess I don't know enough about those companies, but I just want to push to that we have so many local companies that why is that going to a mainland company and then getting divvied up? Why wouldn't that be like, you know, the guys that show up?
So we did open up the contract to everyone, to all pest control operators. Yeah, it's a bidding process, but only Rentokil bid to be the contract, so they want it. But the reason why they were chosen is that, like,